excitement, because it actually is. We're really, really thrilled to be here. I know for sure I am. I have a lot of enthusiasm. And,
Feel it.
and I've been in this industry a very long time, more than 2 decades. And the thing that's I was searching for, I wasn't finding. So I've done a lot in Eastern sexual philosophies and a deep look at Taoist lineages, tantric lineages, kind of alternative sexual paths, as well as full-on studies, medical research, working with gynecologists. I've looked at full spectrum at everything. And I feel like the frameworks that are available, everyone's kind of talking within that framework. And why I'm excited to be here with you, Erin, is your section sex model is a new framework. I think it's kind of the next iteration of what's possible for people sexually. And that's why I'm excited. I really feel that sexual liberation had one moment back in the 60s, 70s, and then it kind of went down. And now we're ready. I think people are ready for something else, but not just the wild parties. They're wanting connection. They're wanting depth. They're wanting real pleasure, not just acting out pleasure.
Mm-hmm. What would you say are some of those framework shifts for you?
Well,
the ones that stood out most to you?
Yeah. I think what's really interesting about the section sex framework is the intelligence of the actual bodies coming together, and how through practice, maybe initially it doesn't happen that much, the development of how the genitals speak and understand and work together to create this section experience, and then what comes from the section itself, because it feels like it opens doorways that friction sex just doesn't speak to.
I find it interesting that you said it, because for myself, one of the things that I really wanted was just to be able to pass along very practical information that people could start to apply into their sex lives, and not have to have it come from some either religious field, or that it has to be this huge sort of spiritual practice, and at the same time that it could develop into that if a person wants it to be such a thing, but that was more just to allow people to have the experiences and then allow that sort of journey to take itself where it's at.
I think it'd be really fun to share some stories of why we love sex so much, and why sex is at the center of our careers and our devotion and our prayers. I mean, it's really an important part of our lives as individuals, and also working together. So I'm just really curious about, your stories. I know that for me, I started teaching when I was 5, but I'll get to that story in a minute, because I want you to start first.
Oh, you want me to go ahead and start with my stories?
Yes, I do.
I see what that is. Okay. Well, strangely enough, I was also around 5 years old when I had my first sexual experiences and sexual teachings as well. I guess you could say teachings makes it sound so serious. It was more just like a little play shop or something with friends.
Exploratory.
Yes, exactly. So the very first, one of the very first sexual experiences I had, and this is interesting because I've never journeyed down this path so far really since then, but I had gone out with my parents, and there was like some toy store, and somehow I managed to convince them to get me some handcuffs.
Oh my. This is not cops and robbers.
Well, and then from there, I did decide to do some role playing with my next door neighbor involving her backyard fence.
And how old was
she? She was older than me. She was, I think, 6 or so.
Oh, very old.
And, yeah, precisely. And and so then she was handcuffed. We took turns first with the handcuffs, and then after that we then went to more of like a doctor type of thing.
Oh, I see. Handcuffs and doctor role.
Two separate games, but yeah, there was a transformation that happened there.
Okay.
I think maybe the robbers retired, and then decided to take up a degree in the medical field.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And so
what happened?
Well, that was actually the very first time I had seen a vagina up and close. And I still remember to this day that it looked a lot like a flower with petals. And it was a very deep dark purple and red. Like there's a lot of blood flow, though I wouldn't have said that at the time, but like this image is still like emblazoned in my mind. And also then even as much as the image is there and the whole setting, I mean, it was like in a little pine forest and
oh my goodness,
within like the big field of the band that would play in this big field, in the back. It was kind of the backyard of these houses, which were my grandparents' house and the next door neighbors. And was the biggest thing though was the sensation, the feeling of the heat transmission when I lightly made contact, and then seeing the change in expression of the body and response when a body just goes towards pleasure and sensation.
Right.
And that, I think, for me is something that I find very both interesting, powerful, arousing. Like there's a lot depending on the setting, but there's so much power there either for pleasure, healing, therapy, transformation, bonding. Like there's just so much when there is that experience shift of going from our day-to-day life to I am just really having my sensations and pleasure starting to that system to be the one that actually starts to drive what is happening in the interaction.
So it was a lovely experience.
It was a tremendous
Did you get in trouble?
Yeah, for some reason, when she told her parents, they did not.
Oh, so you weren't caught. She just went ahead and shared how.
Yeah, she was saying how amazing this experience was, and her parents didn't really feel the same way. Also, at the time, her father didn't really like people of different ethnicities, and so that was an added fire there. But then all of his daughters actually ended up marrying men of ethnicities, and then he fell in love with all that whole thing, the grandchildren, and just really had a huge change, and actually was always really expressed, and to this day expresses a ton of love to me. So who knows, maybe the handcuffs and fence was just the breaking point in the dam. I don't know.
You never know how it can transform relationships.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. Well,
what about for you now? Now that I
was also
went
5.
ahead.
I was also 5. Mine's very different. My first sexual experience with another person, because my mother swears I was self-pleasuring in the womb. She said you almost basically came out self-pleasuring, as a newborn infant. I was already doing that. So
they did the sonogram. They had like a not safe for work type of.
Yeah, they're like, this is an X-rated.
you turn towards the camera. You're like, hey,
hi everybody, I'm here.
My fans only.
Oh,
Are you looking for one place that you can go to source all of your answers to the questions that you may have around relationships, intimacy, and passion?
Then look no further. Join our free membership where we have 20-minute podcasts just rich with information, free mini courses, and so much more. Join us at embodiedlove.love.